The views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Big Monday edition. Fancy Brian, we welcome new audience members. WCPT 820 AM, Chicago. Hello, Chicago, my kind of town.
I love that town. I lived there for about a decade at least.
I know, man. When I met you, you were living in Chicago.
I was commuting.
Looking to move to the cheese state. Folks, welcome to the big show. And I'd like to think I had something of a big weekend, and we got a big show because of that. I spent a big portion of the weekend in Des Moines, Iowa. And the occasion was Donald Trump at the Iowa State Fairgrounds. Now, Donald Trump had been pointing towards this particular event, this rally in Des Moines, October 9th, as the time when he might tell us that he's running for president again. And I strongly suspect he will tell us that. He didn't, I don't think. I didn't stay for the entirety of the 1 hour and 43-minute agonizing speech given by the former president. I didn't stay for the speech, but I did make the trip, and it's about a 4.5-hour drive. And I would point out for our new listeners down in the, state of Illinois, I took the southern route, mostly in deference to the fact that Illinois has legal marijuana dispensaries.
Hooray.
So I took the southern route. You got to drive south to get to Des Moines. So I did. And I arrived probably about 3 hours before Donald Trump took the stage. And it wasn't my first Trump circus. I've been to a few. I've been to more than a half a dozen. And I was kind of pissed when I got to town, not just because I'm driving to Des Moines in the middle of the Badger game. Go Badgers. They crushed Illinois, finally beat somebody this weekend. But I'm driving into Des Moines, Iowa, not for the first time, probably about the third time I'd covered political events there. And why was I mad? I forget why I was mad. I'll come back. I'm sure I'll retain some anger later in the show.
I normally would be able to fill it in for you, but I didn't get this part of the story yet.
Here's why I was mad. My credentials were denied.
Oh, geez.
Team Trump did not give me credentials.
Did they give you reason why?
Who cares?
I'm more just curious if they actually had any protocol. They were just like, no, yes, no.
Just declined. And there was a lot of press at the event. So I'm going to assume the bleachers, the risers, the press jail was full. And I've been to plenty of Trump events before. And once you sign in, and I get to the event, I like to make friends, Fancy Brian, I like to meet some people, I like to meet the front row Joes and Janes, the bottled blondes and the people that show up. And in the 2016 campaign, and I followed, and I went quite a few Trump events around the country, and Bernie and Hillary and everybody else, but they sort of deadheaded. And, I would go to a Trump event, and I saw him through the midterms and through the 2020 elective cycle, although less events. But he'd go to a venue and he'd have about 5,000, let's say. And then he'd claim, 25,000, we had to turn people away, whatever. That was always my opinion. But I had seen plenty of rallies of that size where Donald Trump, especially inside venues or airplane hangars, would put the press in the pen. And you were discouraged even from interacting with people on the, let's call it the rope line, the steel cage line. You weren't supposed to talk to the people. Once you were in that pen, they controlled you. You were the fake news media. And inevitably, Donald Trump at some point during the course of the rally is going to turn back and point the crowd towards you and turn their animus towards the journalists and the press and the media and super cool guys like me. So, it didn't hurt my feelings per se, although it pisses me off that, Trump's team didn't credential the greatest radio show ever
That's why I got a little chip on my shoulder. They did not recognize you as media. That's
credentialed
really
us
what it is.
several times before.
Are you not on their Rolodex? Do
Well,
they not have I don't think they have a Rolodex. That's the thing.
Here's what I would say. I am, even right now, I'm sporting my Dump Trump t-shirt. And perhaps I've earned a reputation because I wore this to the RNC in Cleveland and we broadcast there. And I wore this to Trump's inauguration and we broadcast there, not specifically from the inauguration, but from the town that day. I didn't wear it to the Women's March. It was dirty the next day. So I wore clean clothes, wore a suit to the Women's March, sort of overdressed. Should have just found a pink hat. But I watched this dark character that is Donald Trump all around the country. Dom pointed out to me when we were at the RNC and we were in the room when Donald Trump accepted his nomination. And I'm not saying that to brag so much as to tell you, I was there. I saw this rising fascist movement and this dark speech. And, let's not forget, even right up to the RNC, Republicans were trying to coup d'etat Trump's ass. They were trying to throw their nominee overboard. But anyways, Trump accepted the nomination. Hell, he was on stage damn near every night, if I recall. And we were there and the balloons fell. We were kind of up about the level where the balloons were falling, sort of the nosebleeds. That's where they put the credentialed media that day. And we did a straight to stream. We broadcast live, and it was sort of an eye-opening, ugly, dark moment in American history when he accepted the nomination. And we went out that night. We went out in Cleveland. The place, the source of this darkness was the Quicken Loans Arena right next to Jacobs Field. And in between, there was this expansive grass and this party. And, they had a very good band playing, but nobody was dancing. And nobody was smiling. There was no joy when Donald Trump was the nominee in Cleveland. And this is in 2016. But I got to tell you, there was joy in Des Moines on Saturday night. And maybe joy is not the right word, but it had a festive mood, this whole event. And let me tell you, it was eye-popping, the size of the crowd. This is a large crowd. I've been to big old elective rallies. I've been to Bernie Sanders' biggest electoral rally I'd ever been to. Bernie Sanders in New York City, in Washington Square Park. Sort of that fake Arc de Triomphe thing. And Bernie's giving the speech, and it's on effectively the New York University, NYU campus. I mean, you looked up and there were people faces pressed up on the windows in the buildings. And you looked out in the park that night and it was a sea of humanity. And the crowd that night was estimated in New York City, 45, 50,000 people, something like that. And, I've been to Brewer games. I've been to lots and lots of live sporting events. And you see what it looks like when the crowd leaves and how big and what the size, and if you pack them together or if they spread out. And I like to estimate the crowds. And I believe the Des Moines Register on Saturday night thought the crowd to be about 25,000. And I got to tell you, I was in the sea, I was in the trees, I was in the forest with the people, but I would have guessed that crowd closer to 40,000. And Donald Trump came out on the stage, and Donald Trump claimed it was the biggest crowd ever in the Iowa State Fair grounds history. I don't know, maybe it was. But the crowd size was eye-popping, Fancy Brian. I mean, it was shocking to me how many people assembled on a Saturday night in Des Moines. And I get it. The circus is coming to town. It's like a WWE event.
Well, I was going to say that he used to do like one of these every week or so, and he's always doing them over and over and over again. This has been a while for people. And you yourself, you're not even a fan of Donald Trump, clearly, and you're driving from a couple states away. So I got to think, a bunch of maggots, from states away, at least that same circus or circular area came together to this one thing.
I met lots of people. And I can't tell you, I mean, there might have been people there from Chicago. I saw one lady wearing a Cubbies hat. And someone told me there was actually a Cubbies farm team down there in Iowa. So perhaps it was the local farm team. But most of the vast majority of all the people I talk to, and I go meet people at these events. I mean, I was in the crowd for hours waiting on Trump. I'm meeting lots of people. I'm talking to lots of people. I'm interviewing people. And they were from Iowa. This was reflective of Iowa. It was 50 shades of pale. I mean, it was all white people, maybe 10 people that were not lily white in the crowd of what I estimate to be about 40,000. Again, I didn't have vantage point. I was in the crowd, but I walked around and I tried to assess how big a crowd did I think this was. I think it was damn large. It was scary large. I didn't expect anything that large. So setting the stage, Saturday night in Des Moines, Iowa, it was angry. And a little more angry.
I thought
than
you said it was
expect.
party. It's party angry.
It's hard to explain sort of this,
like soldiers on the eve
duality.
of battle.
They were profane, they were festive, and there was this underlying angry current. Like the inmates were running the asylum, Fancy Brian, and there was 40,000 of them. And I was there in the crowd, and I'm hanging out and I'm meeting people, and we'll tell you much more. And I'll bring you some exclusive sound, Crudy sound. The people, at least some of them, that I interviewed at the Iowa State Fairgrounds. And I got to tell you, I came back a little fearful for our nation because there was a college football game going on. I drove past Iowa City. I drove past where, the University of Iowa is playing in Kinnick Stadium, a sold out stadium less than an hour away. At the very same time, 40,000 additional people are assembling to go see Trump on a Saturday night. So this wasn't the local football crowd. No, they were all at the football game. In fact, they had the football games on the scoreboard. They had big video screens. And it had the feeling of a tailgate party, this Trump event. In that regard, it was certainly festive. And I didn't see a lot of out-of-state plates. I saw a lot of Iowa plates, saw a lot of pickup trucks. And I talked to a lot of people, and it was like a family affair, man. They brought the kids out. There were lots of kids there. And my takeaway is we should be afraid. We should be a little nervous, and beyond a little bit nervous, this was an eye-opening event for me. I mean, I guess I'm glad I went, but I fear for our nation. If this is the sentiment, this is the embrace of Donald Trump, oh my God, man, we're in big trouble. I mean, this guy could do it again. At least on Saturday night, they wished he would. Chicago, you're my kind of town. Welcome, WCPT 820 AM listeners. Come back. Some say the greatest radio show ever. Devil's Advocates.
We're on a mission from God.
Hey, is this heaven? No. It's Iowa. The American dream is dead.
COVID-19 vaccines are starting to become available across the country. Now is the time to get informed. Get the latest information at getvaccineanswers.org. It's up to you. A message brought to you by the Ad Council and the CDC.
600,000 Wisconsin families are receiving checks to help take care of their kids thanks to the expanded child tax credit passed by Joe Biden and congressional Democrats. Ron Johnson voted against these checks for Wisconsin families, despite voting for a 2017 tax break that put more money into the pockets of millionaires like himself. It's time to vote Ron Johnson out of office. MoveOn.org political action, paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Poll.moveon.org, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates. He would have won.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
Mario fue pintor más de 30 años. Un día me dijeron que pintara el marco por dentro y pinté el lado de afuera.
Si algo se nota diferente, podría ser Alzheimer. Es momento de hablarlo. Un mensaje de the Alzheimer Association y the Ad Council.
Listen to the Devil's Advocates live weekdays from 2 to 5 p.m.
Thanks for the job you do. It sure showed in the Supreme Court.
But I just want to thank you guys for your program.
Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You don't get enough credit for this. We've never had a voice ever in this state.
So I think you guys really need to take a bow.
Thanks again for your work. It's really important. You need these guys. They're there for all of us.
You're welcome, everybody, and thank you.
The devil's advocates may not agree on much, but funny is funny.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Crudy went on the road this weekend, took it to Des Moines, Iowa, the Iowa State Fairgrounds. Why did I go there? Because Donald Trump was there, and lots of Iowans were there, and perhaps some others. But I would have estimated the crowd at a eye-popping 40,000. And I'm telling you, 25,000, I believe the Des Moines Register thought that crowd at. It was a hell of a lot of people. And it was a Saturday night, and the Iowa football team, and they don't even have professional sports in Iowa. The Iowa football team was playing as sort of counter programming to the Trump rally, although they had it on the video screen, and Iowa eventually won that game late, a very good game. I got to see it on the video screen at the Trump rally. So anyways, I rolled into Des Moines, Iowa, and I'd been there before. I'd been there for the Iowa, I guess it was the Freedom Caucus way back in 2015. That's when I first met Donald Trump, back when he was just threatening to run for president. Well, that was sort of the tone again on Saturday night. But I wanted to introduce you to the audience and some of the people I met. And it starts with a guy named Reggie. Reggie, I mean, I didn't see many black guys inside the Trump rally, but Reggie was an African-American guy, and I parked in his front yard. And anyways, Reggie was selling parking. And I asked him, you down for what's going on across the street? This was literally across the street from the state fairgrounds. Here's what Reggie said. Hell, Reggie doesn't think Trump could possibly win again, but he did the last time. I was kind of confused, but you listen. Cut one.
What do you think about Donald Trump coming to your backyard?
I really don't care.
Does it scare you at all? I mean, does it bother you at all?
I know he's not going to get elected again, so I ain't scared.
You never know. He might.
Nah.
We never thought that he was going to get elected the first time.
I knew he was going to get elected the first time, but not this time. He didn't did too much bull to get elected now.
Des Moines Register poll just said 53% of Iowans find him favorable, highest favorability he's ever had.
I'm moving out of Iowa.
And I actually thought, I'm not going to be like this because I heard most of them was African American votes.
I would find that hard to believe, but
actually, I looked it up. I think was it the first time he voted or whatever. Yeah.
He wins, he wins. More power to him.
Guys, may I just ask what your name is, like even first name?
Reggie.
So, more power to him, says Reggie. Now, Reggie seemed like a pretty square guy. It seemed like he celebrated the 420 like a lot of us do. Reggie's a little squinty.
That's kind of how you have to do to tolerate that.
But Reggie, I liked your attitude. And, if I had 40,000 Trumpsters literally in my backyard, I'd probably move the hell out of Iowa as well. Here's David. David's Reggie's neighbor. This might also inspire me to move. If I had a neighbor living 2 down like David, that might inspire me. Here's David Brown. He's wearing a God, Guns, and Trump t-shirt, bright red. And I started there, and he also had this big flag affixed to the side of his house. And the flag said, F Joe Biden. F Joe Biden.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, that's a strong sentiment. So
Party of family values.
David had his grandkids there. He had his son there. He was also selling parking in the front yard, sort of tailgate style. You've been to a football game. You know what I'm talking about, people. Well, I stopped down at David's house. He's Reggie's neighbor. Here's David, cut 2.
What's your name, if I may ask?
My name's David Brown.
David, you got God, Guns, and Trump on. So you're dressed for a Trump rally. You got the former president in the backyard tonight. How you feeling?
Oh, yeah. We're feeling pretty pumped tonight. We're parking cars here for the Trump rally. Iowa State Fair's full of Trump fans.
A lot of people over there.
Yeah, a lot of people.
They tell you how many they were expecting tonight?
20. I don't know how many they're expecting, but it's looking like about 20,000.
How much you selling parking spots for?
$10.
$10.
Yep.
And how about the sign? Is that to tell the Trump people it's the right place to park, or do you feel it?
We support Trump.
Well, yeah, but that doesn't say pro Trump. It says something different.
It says same thing.
Yeah.
Biden.
Yeah.
Get him out of the office.
Now, so
look at that guy. He's got the same shirt.
If I may ask, sir, what?
That was David Brown and his son. And you also hear the kids in the background. He's a beaming grandfather as well. Do we have time for one more David Brown? Let's play a little bit more of the neighbor, Reggie's neighbor, David Brown, cut 3.
I specifically
what don't you like about
Joe
Biden?
Biden on the border with the border crisis, and he hasn't even made one trip to the border to see what's going down there. And the economy and the gas prices, and Joe Biden's just so far out of touch. It's incredible.
Wow, that really captured the whole argument for me. Really good.
You know, there was a plane flying overhead, you know, again, a festive atmosphere in Des Moines Saturday night, and the plane's pulling a banner. And the banner says, "Let's go, Jacob." And I didn't know what it meant. And I admitted to David Brown here, this guy in Des Moines, hey, man, what's that mean? Because, you know, they all seem very excited about it. They knew what it meant. And he said, oh, you didn't see the NASCAR race down in Alabama last weekend. Guy named Jacob, apparently last name Brown, although no relation to this guy. Jacob Brown won that race. And he was interviewed on NBC. And he was being interviewed, and the fans were robustly cheering F Joe Biden, F Joe Biden. And the commentator for NBC, probably trying to do her job and, you know, avoid as many FCC complaints as she could, because the cameras and the microphones were clearly picking up the F Joe Biden sentiment of the crowd. She said they were chanting, "Let's go, Jacob. How's that make you feel, Jacob?" So anyways, as David Brown told me, he said, well, everybody knew she was lying. Everybody heard what they were saying. So when you hear people saying, "Let's go, Jacob," what they really mean is also F Joe Biden.
I hate to correct you on the radio. It's Brandon.
Brandon, my bad.
Just want to make sure it's right. That's all.
Brandon.
Sorry.
Let's go, Brandon. Oh,
I'm just saying that because it was already used by one of our trolls online. So it's going around.
Let's go, Brandon. Brandon Brown, my bad. He was the NASCAR guy. The sentiment, though, F Joe Biden. I want to be very clear, for my sake and the sake of the audience. Come back. I'm going to tell you more. The children are the future. A lot of them at the State Fairgrounds in I-1 Saturday night. It was a little bit of a scary sight. 40,000 plus, to my opinion, at a Trump rally. Counter programming to the Iowa football game. They still showed up on a Saturday night. It was a lot.
I'm the one that brought back football. By the way, I brought back Big Ten.
Here we are, the young contender, scrappy, controversial, has an impressive reach. Devil Radio 92.7.
We're putting the band back together.
Sexy Liberal is in person again, this time in Madison.
Okay, fine. Madison it is.
At the Barrymore Theater, October 23rd. All 4 cast members will be on stage performing together.
We're going into Wisconsin.
Stephanie Miller.
Can I just go with bunker bitch? How many times did you actually put your diaper in your little bunker?
John Fugelsang.
What a pleasure it is to be in a room full of so many atheists doing the Lord's work.
Comedy duo Frangela.
Y'all are some sexy liberals. Yes.
And Hal Sparks.
I got kicked out of the South for thinking too much.
All live and in person at the Barrymore Theater in Madison on October 23rd. But if you can't get to Wisconsin in October, the show will also be simulcast live via pay-per-view on Meathook. Come see the show live or stay at home and watch in the comfort of your living room. A limited number of post-show meet and grope tickets will be available at the Barrymore show.
And please, all attendees need to be vaccinated to attend the live show.
October 23rd at the Barrymore in Madison. Sexy Liberal
Coronavirus update. I'm Ben Thomas with an AP News Minute. AP correspondent Mike Hempen reports drug maker Merck has asked U.S. regulators to authorize its promising antiviral pill against COVID-19.
If cleared by the Food and Drug Administration, it would be the first pill shown to treat COVID-19, adding a new, easy-to-use weapon to the world's arsenal against the pandemic. The FDA will scrutinize company data on the drug's safety and effectiveness before rendering a decision. All COVID-19 drugs now authorized by the FDA require an IV or injection. Mike Hempen, Washington.
California is experiencing the lowest rate of new COVID-19 infections in the U.S. right now, but it's also reached another sobering milestone. 70,000 people in the state have now died of COVID infections. The mark recorded today by Johns Hopkins University is the highest in the country. Texas is about 3,000 deaths behind. I'm Ben Thomas.
My stomach.
Don't worry, I've got you covered.
When you have nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
What's that?
It's Pepto-Bismol chews.
Pepto-Bismol's in a chew?
Yeah, they taste great and provide fast relief. And you can always have Pepto-Bismol handy.
Ooh, let me try it.
Try Pepto-Bismol chews for fast relief.
Nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Marcus by Goldman Sachs offers personal loans with no fees, ever. Banks offer coffee. So what's more important, a Marcus by Goldman Sachs loan with no fees that could help consolidate debt, or bank coffee that tastes like bank coffee? You can money. Visit Marcus.com to learn more about saving, borrowing, and investing from Marcus by Goldman Sachs.
Investing involves risk and investments may lose value. Brokerage and investment advisory services by Goldman Sachs & Company, LLC. Member FINRA SIPC. Lending and deposits products provided by Goldman Sachs Bank USA. Member FDIC.
For Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines. On Sunday, 3 Columbia County Sheriff deputies shot an armed person who was reportedly suicidal after the individual pointed a weapon at the officers. The Wisconsin Department of Justice is investigating the incident. The individual received immediate medical attention and was taken to a local hospital, but their condition is unknown. This year's freshman class at the University of Wisconsin-Madison is its largest in history, and for likely the first time in the school's history, the freshman class has more out-of-state students than in-state students. Higher education experts say it is likely due to the years of education cuts in the state budget, forcing schools in the UW system to turn to out-of-state student tuition to cover budget gaps. The Green Bay Packers beat the Cincinnati Bengals in overtime yesterday, 25-22. The game was won when kicker Mason Crosby made a field goal after missing his 3 previous attempts. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Sexual chocolate. They play so fine, don't you agree? I believe the children are our future.
The Devil's Advocates Radio for the 99%.
Show them all the beauty they possess inside.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. I thought of this song immediately, and even the Eddie Murphy version thereof from Coming to America. The number of kids at this Trump rally, I went to Des Moines, Iowa this weekend, the occasion. Donald Trump coming out of the post-election hibernation. It was the first time I had seen the former president since he lost the election, although nobody told him. But I was really there for the crowds. I was really there to hang out with the deplorables and mingle with the masses. And that's exactly what I did for hours. In fact, first I walked in with them because I got my press credentials refused by the Trump team. So I attended with the masses, the unwashed masses at the fairgrounds, and some were unwashed.
I saw that footage. That it looked very unwashed. It looked very, it looked like large people, big in the hips.
Some were. There were a lot of blondes. Blonde was the hair color of choice.
That's the only
very
hair
Aryan
color of
crowd.
the Aryan crowd.
I know. There were some younger ladies, probably.
Have you seen Fox
late
News
teens,
ever?
Early 20s. These young ladies were wearing blondes for Trump hats. And I saw some other young ladies that were in the crowd. I was probably about 200 feet from where Trump took the podium. And some young ladies, they started chanting, F Joe Biden, F Joe Biden. And I was really surprised by the sentiment. I mean, Joe Biden, I get it. I'm a Democrat. I'm a lefty, but I was more of a Bernie sort of a lefty. I wasn't, like a big embracive Joe Biden guy, because I didn't think Joe Biden inspired that much passion in people. I thought that's why maybe he was the right candidate for the times. And now that he's the president, there was plenty of support there for Donald Trump. And I remember back in 2016, every rally, Trump would point him towards the back, towards the press. And, there would be a CNN sucks that rang out. And then, of course, the classic, lock her up, lock her up. I think Michael Flynn, he always got that one going for Trump.
Yeah, how the irony of that is so great.
Yes. The now pardoned, convicted Michael Flynn. And anyways, here's the point. Lock her up. I always thought that was, a little crass. And you'd go to the Trump rallies, Fancy Brian, and there was Hillary sucks, but not like Monica. You know, that,
oh,
that sold 1 million t-shirts though. And if there's one constant at the Trump rally, it's the merchandising, baby.
and the horrible, horrible jokes. Like I'm not talking about like I'm offended because, oh, you're saying mean things and you're saying the F word about Joe Biden. I could give a crap about that. I'm talking about the lack of any creativity whatsoever. If you're going to troll somebody, if you're going to make fun of somebody, do something creative. It's just a bunch of stupid crap by people who, oh, wait, I forgot. The crowd is people who buy Wolf sweatshirts. So let's move on.
Let's actually stay in David Brown's front yard here for just a moment longer. I told the story about Brandon Brown, apparently the NASCAR driver's name. If I got it wrong, I apologize. But here's David telling the story because I didn't know what the hell they were doing, pulling this banner behind an airplane. But David, he edified me. Cut 5, if you would.
Oh, well, I hear that. I see their fans are behind you, Brandon. They're all yelling, "Let's go, Brandon."
That's not what they were saying, obviously.
That's not what they were saying. They were saying F Joe Biden, and they said, "Let's go, Brandon." She turned it in. She fake news NBC turned it into "Let's go, Brandon."
Well, do you think it was the FCC she was worried about, or?
I think she was fake news, liberal news, mainstream media, fake news.
Or the FCC because you're an idiot.
So you hear the kids in the background, right? You know, this was a family affair if I didn't mention that. Met this couple, Scott and Holly, as I was walking in. They were in front of me. There's also a young guy behind me. And the newest chant was Joe and the Hoe. And the woman in front of me, this, as you described her, vapid. You had to remind me what the word meant. What does vapid mean?
Vapid means you're pretty much adding absolutely nothing to the conversation, nothing challenging, nothing interesting whatsoever. You're basically a blank stare off into nothingness.
Well, when the Joe and the Hoe rang out, and there was the occasional, just the random F Joe Biden, you know, these chants would just ring out in this crowd of thousands waiting to go into the fairgrounds. And we're in this long winding line waiting to go through Secret Service, go through the metal detectors. So I got this blonde in front of me. They were all blondes, but this particular one is the vapid blonde, as we'll describe her. Her name is Holly. And Holly giggled a little awkwardly when she heard it, or I couldn't tell. Was it an awkward giggle or was she supportive of the sentiment? So I asked Holly as we walked in, a couple of questions from Holly. You'll hear her responses. Let's start with cut 6. Holly thinks Trump won.
If I may ask, first name's fine, but can I ask your name?
Oh, Holly.
And you're here for a Donald Trump rally, not your first, you say?
Not our first, no. Not our last.
Not your last. And why are you here? There's a football game, lots of stuff going on. Why are you spending some time with the former president on a Saturday night?
You know, I feel like we came out here to support him because I think he was actually the clear winner, and our country needs him back, and just here to show solidarity for that.
And when you say the clear winner, electorally, I mean, obviously Joe Biden was inaugurated the president, so
right.
I just want to be clear when you say he was the clear winner, what that means.
Well, in my mind, he is the clear winner.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Do you feel like the outcome of the election was less than advertised or something different? Do you think Joe Biden won legitimately, or you don't believe so?
No, I don't think so. I think all the voting before the voting was, you know, kind of unprecedented, and I think that really had a lot to play with the election turnout.
Now, Holly, if you can't tell us, no, you know, let's just point it out. She's probably not a rocket scientist. You know, she was nice enough. She was friendly enough.
She's a friendly lady, but her eyes are an abyss into nothing.
Sort of a Stepford wife kind of look about her.
I don't even know if she got even that far, man.
Holly answered one more. I did ask her about the awkward question mark giggle about the Joe and the Hoe, the Kamala Harris crack we heard someone megaphoning as we walked in together. And here's what Holly said, cut 7.
If I may ask, you think Trump will run again? He keeps threatening, or at least he's hinting. Do you want to see Trump run again?
I would love to see Trump run again. I think that Biden has got our country headed in a horrible direction in the 8 months that he's been in office. And it's going to take someone strong like Trump to turn it back around.
I heard a guy say, let's say, something coarse about Kamala before. And I heard you giggle a little bit, but I didn't know if that was awkwardness or if it was something you agreed with.
Oh, I don't know her personally, but of course, but I think that I think she's disgraceful for our country, honestly, like with the borders. And she was supposed to go down to the border right away, and he's opened the borders, and it's been just a joke, honestly.
Yeah, joke you don't know the punchline to.
Vapid. Now I'm understanding. Now that I have context, Holly is a little vapid.
A little?
A skosh, vapid.
I saw a picture of her when I looked it up.
Scott is her husband, and Scott was also at the rally, and they were walking together. I also had a question or two of Scott. Here's Scott, if we have time. Cut 8, Fancy Brian.
I heard outside at least was anti-Joe Biden, sometimes coarsely anti-Joe Biden. Are people really that angry at Joe Biden, or do you think people are? What are you feeling? What do you think that Joe Biden sentiment comes from?
Most people feel sorry for him because he's not intelligent enough to be the president. He has no clue what's going on. He's just being, pulled in different directions by anybody. He'll listen to anybody, any clown on the street saying, "Hey, you need to pull out of here," and he'd be like, "Okay." So yeah, he doesn't know what he's doing. And the vice president's worse, so you can't impeach him. You certainly don't want her in there if you're a Republican. So I don't know. It's gonna be a long 3 years.
Gotcha. That's how I always respond to him. Gotcha. I did ask Scott about the Senator Chuck Grassley from Iowa, the 88-year-old running for re-election. Asked a few of the attendees. Chuck effectively embraced, that's the establishment. You can't get much more Iowa establishment than Senator Chuck Grassley. So when Grassley spoke on stage preceding Donald Trump, he basically was giving them the big old smooch. That was, the best of the best. And I asked Scott, and I don't have the sound. I did put it up on Facebook, I believe, if you want to go there. But I asked Scott, what about Chuck Grassley? I teased him a little bit. Apparently Chuck Grassley only believes in term limits for other people. But I said, sir, what do you think about Chuck Grassley, 88? In their better blood, aren't there younger people that could better serve the state of Iowa than Chuck Grassley? And Scott said, I don't pay that close of attention to the local politics. And I'm thinking, Chuck Grassley, this guy's approximately 50. Chuck Grassley's been your senator your entire life. And you're political enough. You hate yourself some Joe Biden, but you don't know enough about Chuck Grassley, the last 50-year senator from Iowa, to offer an opinion.
That's why you got to ask more questions and ask them to explain themselves more, because the more they do, the more they like when you talk to David Brown, you were like, well, wouldn't she just not want swearing on the air? No, it liberal news media, the fake news.
Well, I've posted the videos, and I've got lots of video of these fine people. Scott's wearing the glasses, sort of looks like a distant relative of Tony Evers, actually. Distant. Tony Evers, the fine governor of the great state of Wisconsin. He's a Democrat. Scott obviously is not. They're quite a happy family, though. Scott and Holly at the Trump rally on a Saturday night. I mean, what a better time could you show your best girl than taking her to the Trump rally on a Saturday night? And at one point, there was this couple there, and he came back, and she was there waiting with the girlfriend, and he came back, and he had basically like a bouquet of greasy, hot, still steaming fried corn dogs. The whole bouquet, like 6 corn dogs.
I heard you talk about that, which is interesting. I read that. And I was like, oh, that's cool. That's kind of a cool thing. You got a bouquet of corn dogs and things like that. And then I thought about it for a second. I'm like, you're going to have some cold corn dogs pretty soon. Just go get a couple, eat them, and then go get some more. You got to,
the line when you got 40,000 Iowans waiting for a Trump rally, the
Oh,
line
yeah.
for corn dogs, apparently over an hour long. So, you know, you get
My
your corn
goodness.
dogs when the getting of corn dogs is good.
My goodness.
And you put the mustard apparently in a little plastic thing and you bring it with. But anyways, I met lots of different sort of people at the Trump rally. And I saw this one couple, they're wearing his and hers. I'll be back 2024, you know, sort of hasta la vista, Total Recall style, Schwarzenegger style, and husband and wife wearing the same t-shirts. And while I'm talking, and I was interviewing this couple, and it's getting a little bit loud. We were close and getting closer to the crowd and the blaring sound system and the political candidates and some of the Iowa football game being played out in the background. And then I got tapped on the shoulder by a guy, and the guy said, you know, you should meet my kid. So I bent down and, you know, looked face to face. And this was a young guy. He was, I would guess, 7. And, you know, my boys now teenagers, they looked me in the eye. But this young guy, I bent down, you know, I kneeled down so I could look him in the eye and I could get a little video of the kid. And I noticed he was wearing a t-shirt hiding from Biden. And I'm thinking, haha, you know, black t-shirt, white lettering, hiding from Biden. And then I noted the hat this young guy was wearing. And the young guy's name was Tucker. And we're going to bring back some of the sound of Tucker and his father, Mike. They were at the Trump rally on Saturday night. To hear Mike tell it was Tucker's idea. And then I looked at Tucker's hat, and Tucker was wearing a F. Joe Biden hat. And I'm thinking to myself, and I did ask, you know, was the hat Tucker's idea as well? Oh, yeah. So anyways, we'll meet Tucker and his dad, Mike, and a few other fine characters. They were at the Iowa Fairgrounds this weekend. It made me think, the children, they are our future. And I'm a little concerned about the future.
Check the chocolate.
That boy is good.
If you love them enough to barely sleep, then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat to make sure they're in the right car seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
600,000 Wisconsin families are receiving checks to help take care of their kids thanks to the expanded child tax credit passed by Joe Biden and congressional Democrats. Ron Johnson voted against these checks for Wisconsin families, despite voting for a 2017 tax break that put more money into the pockets of millionaires like himself. It's time to vote Ron Johnson out of office. MoveOn.org political action, paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Poll.moveon.org, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
I want to get back to being in my community group.
I want to continue having a soccer season.
So I can throw parties again.
So I can go to her parties.
It'd really be nice to dine in instead of getting delivery for a change.
So I can feel safe and protected for myself and my students.
We each have our own reason for why we're getting vaccinated against COVID-19. What will yours be? Visit getvaccineanswers.org for information on the COVID-19 vaccines. It's up to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
19, brought to you by CDC and the Ad Council.
Feeling increasingly lonely right now? You're not alone. Try joining a virtual book club or scheduling an online coffee break with coworkers to connect.
Find more self-care and coping tips at coping-19.org.
I'm not a big fan of righty-whitey talk radio, but if I'm going to tune in even for an hour a day, I really wish they'd have a live host. You know, they've still got a Rush Limbaugh show, and the guy's been dead for a couple months.
Playing like best of Dead Rush.
Do you know how weird that is? I make you this promise, Dom, after I'm dead, you don't have to keep playing my sound bites. Although I'm hoping you go first.
The Devil's Advocates, weekdays from 2 to 5.
The Devil's Advocates, making radio great again.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Welcome me back. I'm back from Des Moines, Iowa. Went on the road for a Donald Trump rally at the Iowa State Fairgrounds. And there was a lot of Elton John and Village People, Macho Man. I mean, very strange soundtrack that Trump chooses. And it was a strange choice. I thought there was a lot of F. Joe Biden sentiment in the air that night. And I thought it was strange. The number of kids there, and the fact that some parents allowed their kids to adorn these profane clothes, like Tucker. Tucker had a F. Joe Biden hat on, And his dad, Mike, was quite proud. And this sounded a little hard to hear. You're going to have to listen close for Tucker, but we're going to play the sound. Some people I met in Iowa this weekend, Tucker and his dad, Mike, at the Trump rally, cut 9.
You got your Biden from Biden t-shirt on. What's your name? What's your first name? Sorry. Say it loud, and then the hat. You better not say it what that hat says, or your mom's going to wash out your mouth. Dad let you wear that hat? Do you believe what that hat says? Yes. And Donald Trump's going to be here tonight. Do you believe in Donald Trump?
I believe in Donald Trump.
And do you wish Donald Trump was the president right now?
Yes.
Or did Dad just drag you here and you said, okay, I'll go, Dad?
It's actually his idea.
Oh, you wanted to come. And
He heard it about it before I did. He's like, Dad, we're going. This is his second time
yeah,
for a Trump rally. This is my first.
and I'm sorry I didn't hear his first name.
His name's Tucker.
And what's your first name, sir?
Mike.
And Tucker, is it okay if I use sound from Tucker on a radio show? And now the hat's a little profane.
I had consent.
The missus, the mom, get mad about the hat, or is she okay with that?
He actually bought it. She doesn't know yet, but as long as he doesn't wear it to school, I'm sure she'll be okay with it.
Gotcha. And you said your son, he's wearing the Biden shirt. You guys obviously support Trump. You're at a Trump rally.
100%.
Let me ask you, what don't you like about Biden?
I don't like anything about Biden. He's little kids, and he's got service people killed. He's got a bunch of innocent people killed over in Afghanistan. I don't like nothing about the guy. His son's a crook drug dealer.
Well, I see the hats though.
We'll cut it off there. I think that's the gist of it. You get a sense of the family, Tucker and Mike, a fine pairing, father and son.
How did they find out he was a dealer? Was he dealing to the Trump kids?
Not clear. We got just a little Trump sound. Hate to feed you your broccoli. I've been saving it to the end of the hour, and we're going to take phone calls if there's time at 844-967-2789. There'll be time. We'll make time. So anyways, Trump eventually, finally comes out to the stage, and here's how, he's greeted in Iowa. Play the sound for the people. Donald Trump, cut 10.
Hello, Iowa, and congratulations to the Iowa Hawkeyes. That was a big win today. I'm thrilled to be back.
Had the Hawkeyes lost, I think the crowd could have turned ugly. But my immediate thought is, guy have a couple of wine spritzers on the plane on the way over? Now, I understand Trump's supposedly a teetotaler, but my first thought immediately, he seemed almost just a skosh impaired.
Yeah. He's dealing with post-COVID symptoms.
More Trump, play it for the people. Cut 11.
Lunatic leftists are taking over our schools, and radical socialists are taking over our country, and we're not going to let that happen. We're not going to let that happen. And you can't say I didn't warn you.
You can't say he didn't warn us. One more, Trump, the brink of ruin. Cut 12.
Millions of Americans are realizing that Joe Biden and the radical left have brought our nation to the brink of ruin. There's never been anything like what has happened.
So that was Trump Saturday night. He went on to talk about the state of Wisconsin and the rigged election and yada, yada, yada. An hour and 43 minutes later, I'd already left, ordered some Mexican food, had a Corona, and, I was calling her a night. I didn't stay for the entirety of the Trump speech, but, I did meet lots of people in Iowa, and I did write a little column. And it's not like me to write a little column, but I wrote a little column and I published it at the Devil's Advocates Facebook page. So if you've never experienced Crudy in the written form, I was inspired Saturday night, and it was a little terrifying. I got to tell you, I didn't expect the enormity of the crowd. Somewhere between 25 and 50,000. I would have guessed more, somewhere north of 40,000. And the entire fairgrounds, there was no parking. I had to pay for parking. The fairgrounds was jam full. and it had something of a festive atmosphere. You know, they're playing the Iowa football game on the big screens, but the theme of the night was F Joe Biden. And I didn't think Joe sort of inspired that sort of passion in the people, but that was the overriding sentiment. And the fact that, you know, the kids were there and the kids were hearing it, and there were profanities being spouted even on the video screen. George C. Scott doing Patton was the lead-in. And
Really?
you know, yeah, that's what they played. It was like a propaganda film. And Trump, of course, a draft dodging chicken hawk, but he's playing Patton, and Patton's telling the story. And, you know, obviously for dramatic purposes, this was a movie. And Patton's like, you know, don't be the guy that dies for his country. Make the other guy die for his country. He can be the patriot. You kill his ass, was basically the message. And the other message is fight, 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 fight. Never relent. And I felt like it came to some sort of an epiphany, if not that night, the reflection I've had over the last couple of days. Trump is reflective of the crowd, and maybe he gave them permission to show this darker side, but that darker side existed, and it was there. And as much as they quote unquote support Donald Trump, my impression is he hates all the right people. And the supposed evangelical family people at the Iowa State Fair in Des Moines, Iowa on Saturday night, you know, I was thinking, well, it's family night, it's festive, and there's a lot of people here. But, you know, if my kid was 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, I don't think I'd have him at a Trump rally, even if I was a Trump supporter, because the profanities, the coarseness of the language. And everybody's got a t-shirt. Everybody's bought in, you know, literally with their money. They're buying the merchandise. They're wearing the Trump wear. They're representing. I mean, so many people wearing flags and weird hats. And I mean, it was like Halloween. And they were all angry. Despite the Elton John. Maybe it was too many corn dogs. The corn dogs had cooled on them. Come back with us. Want to hear from you, our fair audience. 844-967-2789. I went to the Trump rally so you didn't have to. And I came back scared for the future. Trump has overwhelming support in the state of Iowa, and Joe Biden does not. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates. The happy hour is next.
Stand back and stand by.
This is Pat Slattery of Slattery's Automotive Service in Verona. Established in 1973, I've been servicing and repairing cars in the Madison community for nearly 50 years. You can trust me to tell you what your car really needs and fix it right the first time. Give me a call at 608-848-6123 to schedule an appointment today. Slattery's Automotive Service, your trusted choice for local service and repairs for all your automotive needs.
Hey, I'm here from Knuckleheads. Have you seen our new location yet? Come on down to 520 State Street for all your CBD needs. We have a huge selection of gummies, oils, and a variety of other CBD products. We also have a gigantic walk-in humidor. The knowledgeable staff at Knuckleheads will work with you to find exactly what you need. Mention Devil Radio at checkout to get 15% off your next order. Knuckleheads, now at 520 State Street. We'll see you there.
You are listening to WTTN 1580 AM Columbus and W224 EG 92.7 FM Madison. Always streaming on the Devil Radio app.
AP News, I'm Ben Thomas. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres is warning Afghanistan is at a make-or-break moment economically.
Already before the Taliban takeover in August, Afghanistan's fragile economy, which has been kept afloat by foreign aid over the past 20 years, suffered from the impact of drought and COVID. Right now, with assets frozen and development aid paused, the economy is breaking down.
The U.S. and the Taliban held talks over the weekend. AP correspondent Charles Deladesma has more.
The Taliban says the discussions went well, with Washington freeing up humanitarian aid for the country. However, The US team's statement was less definitive, saying only that the two sides discussed provision of robust humanitarian assistance directly to the Afghan people. The US also added the current talks being in no way a preamble to recognition of the Taliban. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
3 economists who work in the U.S. will share the Nobel Prize in Economics. AP correspondent Rita Foley.
David Card, born in Canada, is with the
3
University of
economists who
California,
work in the
Berkeley.
U.S. will
His
share the Nobel
pioneering
Prize in
research
Economics.
shows that an increase in the minimum wage does not lead to less hiring, and the arrival of immigrants does not lower pay for native-born workers. Those two findings challenge commonly held ideas. The other 2 economists who share the award with him are Joshua Angrist of MIT and Guido Imbens of Stanford University. They created a way of studying these types of societal issues in the real world. I'm Rita Foley.
Federal prosecutors are asking that a Navy engineer facing espionage charges remain locked up as his case moves forward. Jonathan Toby and his wife were arrested over the weekend in West Virginia after allegedly making a dead drop of a computer memory card that contained design information about sophisticated Virginia-class submarines. This is AP News.
My stomach.
Don't worry, I've got you covered.
When you have nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
What's that?
It's Pepto-Bismol Chews.
Pepto-Bismol's in a chew?
Yeah, they taste great and provide fast relief. And you can always have Pepto-Bismol handy.
Ooh, let me try it.
Try Pepto-Bismol Chews for fast relief.
Nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
Use as directed, keep out of reach of children.
Marcus by Goldman Sachs offers personal loans with no fees, ever. Banks offer coffee. So what's more important, a Marcus by Goldman Sachs loan with no fees that could help consolidate debt, or bank coffee that tastes like bank coffee? You can money. Visit Marcus.com to learn more about saving, borrowing, and investing from Marcus by Goldman Sachs.
Investing involves risk and investments may lose value. Brokerage and investment advisory services by Goldman Sachs & Company, LLC. Member FINRA SIPC. Lending and deposits products provided by Goldman Sachs Bank USA. Member FDIC.
This is Chad Spate. Are you thinking about improving or expanding your home? At Chad's Design Build, we're committed to making your home comfortable, healthy, attractive, durable, and sustainable. In fact, those commitments spell our name. And we deliver these services with our outstanding team of professionals who will respect you and your home. Visit our website at chadsdesignbuild.com to learn more about how we are building a better world, one remodeled home at a time.
Over the years, we have done our best to bring you the highest quality products our industry has to offer. And we are very excited to bring you a new location just east of the Capitol at 951 Williamson Street. Now with 3 locations, there's an Ignite Glass and Gifts near you, no matter which side of town you're on. Madison's favorite for glass gifts and vaping. Ignite Glass and Gifts, Monona Drive, Williamson Street, and Odana Road. Let's torch some glass at Ignite.
Hey, Dom, how many palindromes can you name in 30 seconds? Race car, mom, dad, reefer, kayak, level. Did I say mom already? You're forgetting one really important one. Zero res. Not only is it the coolest palindrome ever, it's also our favorite. Right, I remember. Why is that again? They advertise with us. Zero res, my favorite palindrome. And carpet cleaner. Get the best carpet cleaning ever. Schedule your carpet cleaning online at zeroresmedicine.com. Tell them the Devil's Advocate sent you.
When you're having computer problems, you need a company you trust to get things working again, quickly and affordably. Madison Computer Works has been doing that for business and residential customers for decades. Our computer care plans take away the hassle of being without your computer or needing to bring it in for repair. Starting at only $10 a month, our local and friendly techs provide remote help and can fix most problems in just minutes. Call 608-231-8000 and sign up today. Madison Computer Works, computers that work for you.
For Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines. The Madison Police Department, facing recruiting issues that departments around the country are dealing with, has only managed to hire 24 of the 34 officers it was authorized to hire in the city's most recent budget. Madison Police Chief Sean Barnes noted the department reduced many of its recruiting attempts due to the COVID-19 pandemic, but also pointed to public sentiment surrounding law enforcement officers in the wake of George Floyd's murder last year. Police Chief Barnes also noted the Madison Police Department is in better shape than most departments around the country when it comes to hiring in the law enforcement field. Forecasts of scattered showers throughout the morning with thunderstorms developing throughout the afternoon. Chance for severe thunderstorms possible with winds up to 15 miles an hour and 80% chance for rain and a high today of 71 degrees. Rain expected to continue into the evening with an overnight low of 58 degrees. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Kroot.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. We are sliding into the Monday 4 o'clock happy hour, and you'll be happy to hear your calls. Could be next, 844-967-2789. Let me just wrap up a thought. Went to the Trump rally in Des Moines, Iowa this Saturday. There is an author and pastor named John Pavlovitz who wrote this. Here's what John wrote. For the first time in American history, the latent ugliness in people was revealed and validated and celebrated by a sitting president. It was officially normalized. And what we're experiencing now, this staggering, insensitive posturing in the face of so many people suffering, is the late ripening fruit of something that has been set into the bedrock of half our nation. It is the malicious entitlement that MAGA was designed to nurture from the beginning. This quickly metastasizing moral cancer is something we've never experienced on this level in our lifetimes. And it's something we're going to have to reckon with, regardless of the political outcomes of the next 4 years. If the former president somehow takes that office again, these stories will surely grow exponentially more violent and more commonplace. But either way, the ugliness is here now. The Trump effect on America is that once reasonable, rational human beings whose prejudices, fears, and phobias were all bound by some baseline decorum and common courtesy that kept them from intentionally harming others, have been empowered to revel in the worst of themselves. They believe that cruelty is their birthright. And I got to tell you, if I had a takeaway from Iowa Saturday night, it was just how they reveled in it. The profanity, the cruelty, the ugliness of the event. It was like they all wanted to be a WWE wrestler. And I don't mean in the fake sort of fight sort of way. And it was eye-opening to me to see like 40,000 people. To my estimate, Des Moines Register said 25,000. I thought it was a hell of a lot bigger than that. That was a massive crowd. Biggest ever in state fair history, according to Trump. But I also, and I wrote a column and I published it on the Devil's Advocates Radio Facebook page. And I don't write often. I felt inspired by this event. These children and the kids there that I met, and the F Biden sentiment on the clothing the children wore. And I can't help but thinking there's a reckoning coming for our nation. And I was surprised, to the negative. I was shocked by the size of this crowd. And I just saw the ratings out of Milwaukee the other day, Milwaukee media market, the radio ratings. And number 1 and number 2 in the ratings are right-wing talk radio. And they've got an 18 share. And that just means like 1 out of every 5 radios from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. in the Milwaukee metro area, 1.8 million people are tuned to right-wing talk radio right freaking now, day, night, all the time. They're listening. They're super engaged. This engagement's up 30% in the last 2 months.
And a lot of those folks that start listening to those stations go, you know what? I'm going to go and listen to the news because I need to be more informed. Let's go listen to the news while we're driving. And then they start listening to this. And that's the only option they have for the most part.
Well, right-wing talk radio is dominating the airwaves in Milwaukee. And I saw Ben Wickler, sent his little missive to the party this weekend. I still get the emails. Oh, the state GOP, the Wisconsin state GOP, they're in disarray. And I sent him a text over the weekend and I said, you're looking at different metrics that I'm looking at, because the right has never been this engaged in an off-year, non-presidential. I mean, the right's ready to burn it down. When you look at the engagement metrics, be it the Iowa Des Moines Register poll, Donald Trump's never been more popular. And Joe Biden's at 31% approval in Iowa. No wonder why they say F Joe Biden. No wonder why 40,000 people show up counter-programming to the Iowa football game to see Trump on a Saturday night. And I'm telling you, folks, I don't go, I write this column, someone puts a comment. And I don't mean to contradict our fair listeners and Facebook friends, but give me a break. Don't give them the oxygen. Here's why I go. And here's why I'm spouting about this on a Monday afternoon. I want you to wake up. We are about to get handed our asses by this overly engaged right. And this is scary stuff, folks, because if they win in the midterms, they roll right into the 2024 election. And if you think Donald Trump will never win re-election, you weren't at a Des Moines rally on Saturday night. That is a movement. And we on the left, we're fighting with Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema. We can't get our own legislative agendas passed, and the right's ready to burn our nation down, secede, start a civil war if necessary, by any means necessary. They are ready for it. And I find that a little troubling, Fancy.
My takeaway, and I want to layer this on top of what you're already saying, is I watch the videos because I cut most of all the sound and everything, and I'm watching these people talk and everything, and I make fun of them. It's fun to make fun of people. And yes, she was vapid. I'm sorry, she just is. But a lot. You say things. They say stupid things. They have stupid ideas. And David Brown or whatever, he can't even describe. None of them can really describe or articulate other than the border. But before you get into the politics, when you just go up to these people and say hi to them, they're really nice. They're personable. And yes, there's underlying anger. And yes, there's a whole bunch of anger that gets brought out, especially when, 40,000 people are starting to, you're all yelling at that point, you could all just be yelling, screw Penn State, because at that point, everybody's on the same thing.
Mob mentality. Whoever's not us, I hate them.
But when you talk to them, the anger doesn't come out until you start engaging them on this one subject. But if you talk to them about, food or anything like that, or even, a sports team you guys disagreed upon, you'd probably go and laugh about it and have a beer over it. But as soon as you get to the politics, it's life or death, man. Those guys are ready to rumble. Like if Joe Biden was right there, they would shiv him right then.
Hang Mike Pence, they'd burn down their own side, man. 844-967-2789. Lots of patient people getting to the phones. The piano man, Tom, welcome back. Been a while. What do you got for us?
I was just going to point out, I'm very worried about what's going on, but this is Iowa, and wasn't it a few presidential cycles ago? Cycles ago. Didn't Santorum win their Republican nomination?
But that's a differing circumstance. That was a party seeking a leader. The party has its leader. Chuck Grassley came out and kissed the ring on Saturday night. That's the establishment of Iowa Republican political processes. He's the 50-year senator. So Trump was the outsider. Now he's been embraced. He is the leader. They're not looking for a leader anymore. Iowa's always front and center because of the presidential electoral caucuses and the primaries. Do you think Ron DeSantis, you think anybody's going to challenge Donald Trump with 90% approval ratings in Iowa? And effectively, he is still in charge. And you could say, and Ben Wickler's point here in the state of Wisconsin, the state party, there's a rift and there's all these leadership problems. You know what? That may very well be true, Tom. But the base, the Republican base, is energized like it's 2010 or all over again. And you'll recall, Tom, what happened electorally here in the state of Wisconsin. That brought us Scott Walker, Ron Johnson, that brought us a decade of Republican control in the legislature. And we are poised for that again, I fear, Tom. And I don't even think the Democrats realized how worked up they are on the other side, because this is like a building, rolling boulder down the side of a mountain, man. And it's catching some momentum, Tom. And I'm starting to get scared because I don't think the Democrats, as of today, I don't think they're up for this. I don't think they're even cognizant of the boulder that's crashing down on top of them.
I agree.
And it's not just Iowa, Tom. It's not just Iowa. And why I bring up the ratings in Milwaukee is because it's right here, man. The excerpts of Milwaukee are lit up when the radio dials are up 30% in 2 months, when right-wing talk radio is capturing the number 1 and the number 2 slots, not country music, not sports radio in the midst of, the Brewers in the playoffs and all the good stuff happening professionally in the sports. When right-wing talk radio is driving the narrative of 20% of an entire city in our state, Tom, that ain't Iowa. That's us. That's what's going to come down on Tony Evers. That's what's going to come down to support Ron Johnson. If we think we're going to win this seat easy and we're going to hold Tony's seat easy, oh man, I think we got a lot of work, Tom. And right now we got a big mountain and I'm worried about the boulder rolling down it.
I agree. Bill Maher had a very interesting thing this last week too about what the game plan is for the Republicans for taking over as well, and that caused a little interest and worry in me as well, what he was talking about.
Well, that's the whole undermining of the elections. Donald Trump even comes out and talks about it now. It's like the greatest hits. The 40,000 in Des Moines on Saturday night, they were inspired when Trump said, I got robbed. It's a stolen election. We're going to keep fighting. We're never going to concede. That's what Trump says. We're never going to concede. They love the fighter and they love the fact that he's fighting all the right people for him, Tom. And, by all the right people, I mean us, Tom.
I agree. Well, let's just hope that New York or somebody, bust him for some illegal something to get him out of the game. That would be kind of nice.
Well, that would be nice, but I'm not counting on New York State prosecutors or Georgia State prosecutors or Merrick Garland's Department of Justice. I think the Democratic Party and the grassroots, the Dems, the liberals, the progressives, the people that can hear my voice right now, I'm shaking the cages. I'm sounding the red alert. I'm putting out the bat signal. This is me telling you we are in real trouble because this grassroots on the right, man, they are angry and they are engaged. Come back with us. More engagement on the phones, 844-967-2789. Your calls are next.
Nobody likes you. Everybody hates you. You're gonna lose.
Explain that, because my voters don't get it.
Hi, this is Brad from Zero Res. If you need someone to help with your carpet cleaning, business or residence, please give us a call. We have the best system available and an amazing team of friendly technicians. Call us at 848-9000 or schedule online at zeroresmadison.com.
We're putting the band back together.
Sexy Liberal is in person again, this time in Madison.
Okay, fine. Madison it is.
At the Barrymore Theater, October 23rd. All 4 cast members will be on stage performing together.
I'm going into Wisconsin.
Stephanie Miller.
Can I just go with Bunker Bitch? How many times did you actually put your diaper in your little bunker?
John Fugelsang.
What a pleasure it is to be in a room full of so many atheists doing the Lord's work.
Comedy duo Frangela.
Y'all are some sexy liberals. Yes.
And Hal Sparks.
I got kicked out of the South for thinking too much.
All live and in person at the Barrymore Theater in Madison on October 23rd. But if you can't get to Wisconsin in October, the show will also be simulcast live via pay-per-view on Meathook. Come see the show live or stay at home and watch in the comfort of your living room. A limited number of post-show meet and grope tickets will be available at the Barrymore show. And please, all attendees need to be vaccinated to attend the live show. October 23rd at the Barrymore in Madison. Sexy Liberal return.
At Knuckleheads, our knowledgeable staff knows the ins and outs of CBD. Whether you're a veteran of cannabis like the Double Radio team or a first-time customer, the Knuckleheads team has the information to answer all your CBD questions. Never heard of a tincture? We got you covered. Looking for something to address those achy joints? We got just the thing. Stop into our new location at 520 State Street and mention Double Radio to our knowledgeable staff to get 15% off your order today. Knuckleheads, your one-stop shop for CBD in Madison.
Greetings, everyone. This is Nate Tim inviting you to my show, Lay of the Land, about life and politics in rural Wisconsin. Join me every Thursday at 7 p.m. Join me this week for my special guest, John Nichols. See you then.
It could be. It might be. It is. Devil Radio 92.7.
I remember when I lost my mind.
The Devil's Advocates, because it's always 420 somewhere.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Happy Monday to us all. I never have good Mondays, but pretty good one. We welcome new audience members, WCPT 820 AM in Chicago. Welcome to the political party. And we're live now, 3 to 5, the Devil's Advocates are. So thank you all for listening at our new time. And welcome to the airwaves, Dueling Tangents, Fancy Brian. He launched with Luke Mathers today. Very successful launch. Very proud of you guys.
Yeah, we said words and they were in sequence. I can't even talk right now. It works out pretty well.
Well,
good for me.
Considering your competition today was the Brewers playoff game, I think you guys did a stellar job. Brewers, not so much.
Yeah, they didn't do a good job.
They lost 3-0 to
They're
Atlanta.
better than that, but that's okay.
They trailed 2-1 in the 5-game series. But anyways, lots of people got opinions, I think primarily about the Trump rally. Pizza Box Mike, how are you, my friend? Welcome to the show. What do you got for us?
Well, you send a carnival barker down to the Iowa State Fair and 40,000 carnies showed up. What'd you expect?
That's right, Michael. But at times, I'm starting to think, Trump is more of a reflection of his audience than the person, we think he's leading the cult. I think perhaps the cult is leading him, Michael.
I'm not going to panic because it's already over. I mean, look at how far behind everybody is. F. Joe Biden, that was back in the Democratic primary. Since then, it's been F. Joe Manchin. So we need to change the narrative. Maybe we can go to those crowds and get them chanting that instead. And then why are we doing this? Because he's stopping the bill that Joe Biden wants to pass to make this country better. But there's just too much stupid out there, dude. Have you ever heard of Armageddon?
Well, I've heard of it. That's a movie, right?
Actually, you know what? I've been saying this for a while, and there's a lot of people that say, oh, we've been saying this for years and years and years. Yes, we have. We've been saying that the world's probably going to come to an end, but we've never been at a level like this, especially in this country with an idiot like Trump is going to come back because a couple Democrats won't let a bill get passed. Isn't that awesome?
It's scary, Michael. Fiona Hill today, the Russia bitch, as Trump apparently affectionately called her. Fiona Hill said that Trump is a greater threat to the nation, to the world than Russia is. Pizza Box Mike, appreciate your call, but I'm cleaning up the lines here because we got stacked lines. 844-967-2789. Your contributions welcome. Paul from Wisco. Paul, how are you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing okay. I wish the Brewers could hit, but as far as Trump goes, you don't have to look any further than Wisconsin with Voss. He just met with him here a couple of weeks ago, and you got Galen. They're still looking at the election that happened a year ago. They still think Trump won. So it's an amazing thing, and I cannot, for the life of me, understand the appeal to Trump. I think if Merrick Garland would get off the dime and do something here, maybe it would go away. I'm not sure, Crudy, but at this point, I'm a little worried because there's a lot of energy out there in Iowa. So I don't know where we're going, but
Paul, there's a lot of energy.
Merrick Garland's got to step up.
No doubt, sir. A lot of energy here, but understand what Trump is saying is effectively Claiming a big lie inspires the audience. It engages the audience. I don't even know if Trump believes it at this point. He's just playing the greatest hits because that's what makes the audience so excited and engages them. For the last 2 months, we've seen this rapid growth and engagement in right-wing talk radio. Well, Paul, do you know what they've been preaching about? The big lie. I mean, they've been setting the platform for disgraced Supreme Court Justice Michael Gableman from here in the state of Wisconsin. I mean, if you heard last week, Gableman went on Dan O'Donnell's show and basically called the Journal Sentinel's criticism of his investigation like Goebbels. Made a Nazi analogy. Even Dan O'Donnell pushed back and they backed it up to, oh, it's more like Pravda in Russia. I mean, right-wing talk radio is becoming the platform for the big lie because the big lie pays by boosting their ratings. They're telling their cultists what they want to hear, Paul. And the cultists are responding by tuning in and engaging. And whether or not it's the truth is lost. It doesn't matter what the truth is, Paul. It only matters if they get the people outraged and engaged, and they're doing a very successful job at that.
So let me get this straight. You're going to sell out the country for a few, well, not, it's more than a few dollars, but oh my God.
A few ratings points and a few more advertisers and ultimately, Paul, a few more shekels, a few more dollars. Appreciate your call, fellow. Lots of people stacking up. Be like Wisco Paul. Call us at 844-967-2789. A pal of mine, Jeff from Madison. Welcome back, Jeff. What do you got for me?
Hey, Kurt, was there an entry fee to get into that rally?
No, and for a change, the water was even relatively reasonably priced. $2 for a bottled water at the Trump rally. I've seen it up to $4 for a styrofoam cup of water that Trump has sold at prior rallies. So, you know, a family value at the Iowa State Fairgrounds, but no price of admission.
Man, it sounds like he's slipping on the whole grift deal. But yeah, I was just, I was wondering if they charged admission if, rebroadcasting the local college football game was against any sort of.
I did wonder about that. I also questioned whether they had the right to retransmit the Iowa Penn State football game in real time to a large crowd. But ultimately, Jeff, I have no idea what sort of arrangements or licensing. I mean, I can't imagine that Elton John's reeled down with Donald Trump playing his music library, or hell, even the Village People, Jeff. They aren't exactly the Trump sorts.
Well, as long as everybody chips in their $20 for his campaign, legal defense, everything's good, right?
It is good, Jeff. And he captured thousands of email addresses he can solicit for money. Come back, more Devil's Advocates.
I love you folks because most of you are nodding your head.
Stay informed with progressive news and talk on WTTN 1580 AM, Wisconsin's home for Devil Radio.
President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates. He would have won.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
Do you need to hire? Let Devil Radio help your business find the right candidate with our Help Wanted half minutes. Devil Radio will create a 30-second job listing for your business. Play it on Devil Radio for the month. We'll feature your job listing during Afternoon Drive on Fridays. And we'll even publish your Help Wanted listing on Devil Radio 927.com's website, all for just $300 per month. If you're hiring, Devil Radio can help. Call today.
Child homicides. I'm Tim McGuire with an AP News Minute. The FBI says homicides among young people jumped by more than 20% from 2019 to 2020. This year is on an even higher pace. Just under 1,000 children killed in 2019, 1,375 last year, and nearly 1,200 children killed so far this year. Dr. Lindsay Klukas is an emergency room pediatrician at St. Louis Children's Hospital.
It became something as common as things like appendicitis or broken bones. It was really unfortunate.
Klukas says it's not uncommon to see children who have been shot before. Federal prosecutors accused Jonathan Toby, a Navy nuclear engineer, and his wife Diana of trying to sell submarine secrets to another country. AP correspondent Eric Tucker says it began in April 2020.
Toby sends a letter to an unspecified foreign government, basically advertising himself as having access to very sensitive design plans for American submarines.
I'm Tim McGuire.
My stomach.
Don't worry, I've got you covered.
When you have nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
What's that?
It's Pepto-Bismol Chews.
Pepto-Bismol's in a chew?
Yeah, they taste great and provide fast relief. And you can always have Pepto-Bismol handy.
Ooh, let me try it.
Try Pepto-Bismol Chews for fast relief.
Nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
Use as directed, keep out of reach of children.
Marcus by Goldman Sachs offers personal loans with no fees, ever. Banks offer coffee. So what's more important, a Marcus by Goldman Sachs loan with no fees that could help consolidate debt, or bank coffee that tastes like bank coffee? You can money. Visit Marcus.com to learn more about saving, borrowing, and investing from Marcus by Goldman Sachs.
Investing involves risk and investments may lose value. Brokerage and investment advisory services by Goldman Sachs & Company, LLC. Member FINRA SIPC. Lending and deposits products provided by Goldman Sachs Bank USA. Member FDIC.
For Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines. Wisconsin hospitals reported more than 1,100 individuals were hospitalized with COVID-19 at the end of last week. But at a town hall on Friday, U.S. Senator Ron Johnson compared what Wisconsin hospitals are experiencing to nothing more than, quote, a bad flu season, end quote. Over the weekend, a Madison police officer was shot while attempting to apprehend an individual early Sunday morning. The officer experienced non-life-threatening injuries, and the suspect is in custody. A parent of a Waukesha School District student is suing the district after her son contracted COVID-19 after being exposed to a classmate with symptoms. The parent is suing due to the Waukesha School District having removed its COVID-19 mitigation strategies back in May, and the lawsuit is being funded by the Minocqua Brewing Company's Super PAC. The Milwaukee Brewers play the Atlanta Braves in Game 3 of the NLDS today. First pitch is at 12:07, and the series is tied at 1 game apiece. You're listening to Devil Radio.
People are strange when you're a stranger. Faces look ugly when you're alone.
The Devil's Advocates, because freedom.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Monday 4 o'clock happy hour. It's rolling on. And before we go back to the phones, and your calls are welcome here at 844-967-2789. That's the call line. That's the text line. Everybody's welcome, of course, except you, George. But I want to play Rep. Steve Scalise, a Republican. He went on Chris Wallace on Boxy News over the course of the weekend. And Chris Wallace wound up a very specific, tried to pin him in, very clearly asking him, did Joe Biden legitimately win the presidency? And Scalise didn't want to answer the question. And then he finally gave an answer of sorts. I'd like to share it with you, our audience. If you would fancy, Brian, play cut 15.
Do you think the election was stolen or not? I understand you think there were irregularities and things that need to be fixed. Do you think the election was stolen?
And it's not just irregular, it's states that did not follow the laws set, which the Constitution says they're supposed to follow. When you see states like Georgia cleaning up some of the mess and people calling that Jim Crow law, that's a flat out lie. I think
that's
people need to stand
new
up
law
against that sort of thing.
All right.
Well, he doesn't really get around to saying that Joe Biden won. In fact, he specifically, I believe, later in the interview, says just the opposite. You know, the American people aren't convinced that Joe Biden's the president. They're saying it out loud. This is 10 months into the Biden administration, approximately. Who's the president, Steve Scalise? You serve in the Congress. You know the executive branch over there. It's not Trump, right? Also, here in the state of Wisconsin, Patrick Marley reporting, I found sort of a synopsis here with politics. Gableman, the disgraced former Wisconsin Supreme Court justice, well, he's turned his sights on Tony Evers, And he alleges an insecure election and offers no evidence. Briefly, Gableman, who claimed without evidence before he was hired that the election was stolen, took to YouTube on Saturday, and that's where they all go, right, Fancy Brian?
That's
If
where
you
we
want
are right
something
now.
to have gravitas.
If you want to see our beautiful fancy faces, go to YouTube right now and check out the Devil's Advocates.
Why not TikTok? A little bit more. Here's his quote. If the governor believes that it has been proven the election was conducted flawlessly, then he is completely ignorant to the concerns of Wisconsin voters who have great concerns regarding the sanctity and security of their vote, Gableman said, as he stood in front of a green screen of a law library. I would like to ask Tony Evers how it is a boondoggle for the people of Wisconsin to find out if their elections were run fairly. What's the alternative? The alternative is looking the other way. And he said, he being Gableman, compelling evidence that Wisconsin's election laws were not properly followed by election officials at both the state and local levels. There's also evidence that ambiguities in the law were expansively interpreted, so much so to potentially undermine ballot security measures. But he didn't offer any evidence. He never does. He impugned the WEC guidance to clerks on perfecting absentee ballots, a policy adopted on GOP recommendation and upheld by the courts. And while implying officials broke the law, Gableman in a video said he was not conducting a prosecution and said those who speak with him will be granted immunity. Milwaukee City Attorney Spencer and Gableman's office withdrew subpoenas, though status of the WEC subpoena is unknown. On Friday, Gableman went on Righty Whitey Talk Radio with Clan O'Donnell, and he said that the Cyber Ninja Arizona probe was ineffective at best, crazy at worst. And we'll top them. No, a little bit more here from Gableman. There was no independent government actor such as I am to guide the investigation. A little full of himself, this guy. I, like most people, do not have a comprehensive understanding how the mechanics of an election work. What a fine choice to lead the partisan election investigation. The guy who readily admits publicly more than once he doesn't understand how elections work. That guy. When I put my paper ballot in the machine, I'm left with no other thing to do other than hope for the best. Now, Patrick Marley goes on to fact check just a bit, but voting data is public and can be checked, and clerks perform regular checks on election security, such as voting machine function. It's not going into a black hole, Gableman. My thought is they want to stir up the base. This is obviously a partisan effort, but it's just an effort to continue to cast suspicion and red herrings because it's leading to massive engagement on the right. And they want to win back the midterms. They want to win back the governor's office. And to do so, they got to light the house on fire. And that's what the big lie is doing. And at this point, the big lie amongst the Trump supportive and the Republican Party, and they're one and the same virtually, the big lie is the driving force, and it's grown bigger than the Republican quote unquote leaders. Now the big lie, the tail is wagging the dog at this point. 844-967-2789. Our pal Jeff from Madison, formerly from Janesville. Was that by way of Big Sky Country, Jeff? Are you that guy? Hello, Jeff. Oh, no.
Hello?
Jeff, you're up, man. What do you got?
Oh, I don't know what happened there. I just wanted to, you talked earlier about the right wingers, these Trump supporters are ready, locked and loaded and ready to go.
Yes, sir.
I'll be honest with you. I was at a truck stop, and this wasn't out in hayseed America. This wasn't red Trump supporting ignorant hayseed area of Wisconsin. This was right in CV and Highway 51, right between Sun Prairie and Madison. And this magazine rack was nothing but full of gun magazines, prepper magazines, survival guide. I mean, there wasn't a Newsweek or a Sports Illustrated to be found on it. All there was one muscle car magazine, and the rest of them were precision magazine, like for setting up your tripod and sniping somebody from God only knows how far away. It was the whole magazine rack was full of nothing but that stuff. That's scary. This is Dane County here, and that magazine in this truck stop was full of nothing but that stuff.
It is scary, Jeff.
It scared me. And I'm a hunter, and I own a lot of guns. I've been a hunter since I was a little kid. teenager growing up on a farm, and I have never seen anything like this. This never.
What's
never
so
seen anything
scary,
like
Jeff, is the number when they do polling, when they ask the question. The Trumpsters, they're ready for the violence. They are locked and loaded. They do believe that a violent future is a foregone conclusion, Jeff. And
Yeah,
and I think some of them aspire for that future.
But it's like on Civil War. It's not even. I mean, you don't know if somebody's a right winger or we don't walk around with a tattoo on our forehead saying left winger, right winger. I mean, we'd be shooting each other and not even know who we are.
Well, I would say if you got to pick a target, man, just aim at the MAGA hats. Not that we would ever advocate for violence, Jeff. Appreciate your call. 844-967-2789. That would be Right Wing Talk Radio. At least if they're not encouraging or inciting the violence, they are fomenting the circumstances that will lead to violence inevitably.
I was going to say it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You know, Gableman has to go and come up with an investigation because of they've been telling him we've been needing investigations for so long, and that we need to go and investigate. So finally, we got to go and investigate.
Voters are suspicious, and we've got to investigate their suspicions as we feed them their suspicions.
You know what? I heard people that were being that people were being fed suspicions just now on the radio. So I think that people are saying that people are getting fed suspicions. So now that it's true that people are getting fed suspicions now. Now we've gone full circle. I'm talking to myself.
You know, when Gableman on Friday on the very same Dan O'Donnell righty whitey interview is making Goebbels analogies towards the Journal Sentinel for their coverage, man. They're not the partisans here, Gableman. Look in the mirror, fella.
They're reporting on the stupid thing that you said.
Yes. 844-967-2789. Back to the phones. Kurt from Madison. Welcome back, Kurt. What do you got?
Hi. Yeah, you know, I've been following politics for almost 44 years. And it really is about history. And that we have too many people that aren't or up to speed on how we got to where we were or came from. And I mean, Newt Gingrich was a mastermind of starting to change the formulation of how the Republicans would start taking over control. They are heavily funded by the Koch brothers, mostly. They started changing how and what was taught in schools. They knew if they could control everything from the ground, they could move upward and gain everything, the governorships, the representatives, everything. And we've been asleep. In the end, I blame only one person or people, and that's the Democrats. We've allowed this to happen. And I want to point out, it's 42 weeks now since Trump has no longer been president, and Biden appointed our AG. So if this clown doesn't get arrested and thrown in jail, there's only one person to blame for this, right? You pick an AG.
It would be Merrick Garland's. I would blame Merrick Garland. There's supposed to be independence between the executive branch and the AG. I didn't like when Trump was telling Bill Barr what he should be doing or what he should be investigating. But ultimately, you're right. He picked Merrick Garland, and the weight of the world rests on the shoulders of Merrick Garland. And Merrick Garland must do the right thing for the American people, because obviously Trump and Trump's aides just fighting subpoenas in the January 6th commission, the Hill report. I mean, a report that comes out next spring that doesn't include sworn testimony from a lot of Trumpsters and probably will never include the testimony of Donald Trump. Well, the Congress can't compel that, but the DOJ certainly could.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, it's all falling down by Biden and who he appointed, and I won't just stop with him. Schumer is an idiot. Listen. The Republicans, if the turtle was back in control, he would change the rules of the House without batting an eye, and he would do everything to bludgeon the hell out of every Democrat on the floor. And as Democrats, we still have failed to understand how this game works and how to win it. We've been beaten and beaten and beaten, and we just keep on. It's Charlie Brown all over again. We cannot seem to learn how to fix the problem. We still don't know how to message. Pelosi, I'm not a fan of Pelosi. You got the messaging. The Republicans' message together. They all say the same thing over and over and over and over again. So it becomes automatic, like being a Catholic and going back to church after 30.
You know, Kurt, I appreciate your call, man. Fancy Brian made a very astute observation. Fancy Brian did the hard work of editing all the sound I brought back. And Fancy Brian, you made reference to the fact they all speak from the same script. All of the Trumpsters I talked to, they all know the same script. They're all going to the same media, and they all believe the same things. They're all saying the same things.
It's all gas prices, the border, gas prices, the border,
Afghanistan,
Hunter Biden. It's all the same thing. It's to the point where we have two trolls on here. I'm pretty sure they're the same person because they sound exactly the same.
844-967-2789. Going back to the phone lines, our pal Jeannie from Eau Claire. Thanks for listening, Gene. What do you got for us?
Great show today. Outstanding job interviewing those people. Crudy, thank you so much for going on that trip. Really appreciate it. Gives us some insight of what we're dealing with here. And it's cognitive neuro-linguistic programming. Look it up, folks. You say the same thing over and over. When a person has a brain injury, they say to repeat something 3 times, like if you go in and you forget things easy, you say, I'm going to get something, and then you wait a few seconds, and then you say it again, and then you say it 3 times. Trump did that really well all through his, when he was campaigning. They only use few words, words that hit you emotionally, and then he includes us. Listen to him when he always says, we got the election stolen from us. They're going after us in the courts. We're the ones that are getting it. And he's making it so they feel it. And these people are mad about a lot of things, but they're getting this anger targeted at Democrats. They are skillful at it. And boy, we got a big job ahead of us. So thank you again for the great job you're doing. And I love the new program today. Those guys, Brian, and those guys did a good job today. So thank you very much for taking.
Jeannie, got to cut you short. Come back. One last segment of the Devil's Advocates.
When I say make America great again, it could never be done without you. Great people.
Hi, this is Brad from Zero Res. If you need someone to help with your carpet cleaning, business or residence, please give us a call. We have the best system available and an amazing team of friendly technicians. Call us at 848-9000 or schedule online at zeroresmadison.com.
Hey, I'm here from Knuckleheads. Have you seen our new location yet? Come on down to 520 State Street for all your CBD needs. We have a huge selection of gummies, oils, and a variety of other CBD products. We also have a gigantic walk-in humidor. The knowledgeable staff at Knuckleheads will work with you to find exactly what you need. Mention Devil Radio at checkout to get 15% off your next order. Knuckleheads, now at 520 State Street. We'll see you there.
At Chad's Design Build, our tagline is building a better world, one remodeled home at a time. Simply stated, we want to be a part of the solution to leave the world better than we found it. That's why we've invested in a 20 kilowatt solar array, which provides over 90% of our electrical demand at our shop, office, and design studio. And that's why we invest in local causes which provide opportunities and which confront structural inequality. At Chad's Design Build, we are proud to partner with you, building a better world, one remodeled home at a time.
Hey, this is Rocker, and I'm back on the patio at Salvatore's Tomato Pies on East Wash. I'm having a brand new cocktail you just have to try. It's called Divide and Concord. It features Rocker vodka along with Concord grape, thyme, St. Elizabeth's dram, and a touch of lemon lime. Ask for it by name, Divide and Concord at Salvatore's Tomato Pies. Find Rocker vodka and Rocker rye whiskey at Vic Pierce on Sherman Avenue. Please drink responsibly.
Greetings, everyone. This is Nate Tim inviting you to my show, Lay of the Land, about life and politics in rural Wisconsin. Join me every Thursday at 7 p.m. for ideas, guests, and conversation on Devil Radio.
From Wanakee to McFarland, 92.7 FM is essential radio to get you through the pandemic.
Bring it? Oh, it's already been brought in.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. One last segment for your phone calls. You better dial us up, 844-967-2789. Fancy Brian and Luke launched their new show, Dueling Tangents, today. Start tuning in for it, 2 o'clock weekdays, 2 o'clock Central Time. And the Devil's Advocates at a new time. Thanks for listening, 3 to 5. And welcome to our new listeners, WCPT 820 AM in Chicago. The number 3 media market in America, number 1 in our hearts. Welcome, WCPT listeners. One quick quote and then back to the phones at 844-967-2789. I believe his name is Dan Kaufman. He is the Iowa Republican Party chair. And here's what he said. Absence makes the hearts grow fonder. I don't mean to be crude, Kaufman said, but Trump, to many Iowans, represents the middle finger to doing things the same old way. To the fat cats and the corporate welfare the Democrats now support and Republicans supported in the past, he represents an exasperation. People saying enough is enough. Well, they were angry people. The Democratic Party chair, I have invited him on from Iowa. Hope to have him on a little bit later in the week. Apparently, they had a few things come up today, but you know, the door is open and the phone lines, 844-967-2789. You can join us whenever. We'll take your calls here. Like Jake from Milwaukee. Jake, welcome. What do you got for me?
Yeah, I didn't listen to the beginning of the show because I was too busy watching the Brewers lose. They lost quickly too, actually.
Yes, a quick and painful loss, but please go forward. But politically, what were you thinking, Jake?
Yeah, just one thing. Whoever wrote that, it's not just the middle finger. It's a bunch of white supremacism and racism and authoritarianism. So just, remember that. It has nothing to do with democracy. But the last person who called before, was it Betsy or was that?
Jeannie.
No, that
Jeannie
wasn't
from
Betsy.
Eau Claire.
Jeannie, he made a thing like, why can't Democrats message? Why can't we stick to one thing? It's because that's our weakness. It's because we're a coalition. Democrats are a coalition of very many different interests. Progressives, you name it, like middle of the road corporate Democrats, people who want, more rights, minority rights. The Democrats can't be the Republicans because their strength is our weakness and their weakness is our strength.
Jake, here's what I would say, and I appreciate your call and your listenership. Next time, tune in before the Brewer game is over. I realize playoffs, but don't miss the Devil's Advocates, man. A couple of thoughts, Jake. I have written up the earlier part of the program. You can read it at the Devil's Advocates Facebook page. I've got a few more thoughts, but we got enough callers. I don't want to monopolize all the final time here. Dick from Madison, you're next. What do you got for us, Dick?
Strange world that we live in when I'm agreeing with like Republicans like Adam Kinzinger in Illinois and Liz Cheney. Kinzinger is coming out today. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but urging Republicans to vote for Democrats in the midterms to stop Trumpism. But as far as what you were talking about this weekend, what you saw in Iowa, I saw this in Iowa or witnessed it firsthand in like 1997 or 8. Football game at Kinnick Stadium, and Ron Dane was a sophomore, and they beat us. They held Dane, and I heard some very strange things from Iowa fans about Ron Dane and about, you know where I'm going.
Are you talking about racist stuff, Dick?
Yes.
Okay,
and
just wanted to clarify.
What I'm saying is, the present coach, I think, might have been coached that long ago. Wouldn't that be a nice recruiting tool? Are you kidding me? Is this, why would any minority student want to go to Iowa and play football and play for a bunch of people that are just out and out bigots?
I don't know, Dick. Before, and I didn't mean to cut Jake short. Jake, what the right does is they invest in infrastructure. And we talk about it often. I often reference the fact 81 right-wing talk radio stations in the state of Wisconsin. So even if, quote unquote, the party is in disarray, there's still a messaging platform. There's still a get out the vote mechanism. There is still a way to message to the party base, and they are hugely engaged. And I've been making that point for the last 2 hours. The right has got their thing going on right now, and the left somehow thinks we're winning this argument, and we're not. 844-967-2789. At least one more caller today. Mark from the SAC, welcome back. What do you got?
Yeah, well, I thought we weren't supposed to. I thought if you're good Christians, we weren't supposed to be doing all this hate thing that the Republicans seem to be embracing. So how do they, that, and as far as Mr. Kaufman talking about, that Donald Trump's support of, that of the little guy and against the big corporate interests, all the Republicans did for the years of Trump was give a huge tax cut to the guys at the top and decrease the regulations on the very corporations that are screwing all of us. That is just beyond me. I mean, that I can't help but remember that old ad from the Jewish Chautauqua Society. I think it was, when you hate, who do you hurt the most? And then at the end, the old head exploding there, this hate-filled face, bouncing up and down, and just how can you counteract the hate? I mean, you're supposed to be counteracting it with love, but I guess the truth doesn't even sink in for these people.
No, you're probably right about that, Mark. One thing I found interesting about the rally, Governor Kim Reynolds, state of Iowa, one thing that fell entirely flat, she was bragging about Donald Trump developing 3 vaccines warp speed. And she said that, and she looked out at the crowd, and the crowd just yawned at her. But she caught her stride just a little bit later, Mark. And one thing that Kim Reynolds caught fire with, she said, we here in Iowa, we love our children, and we decide whether or not they get vaccinated. We decide whether or not they wear masks. We decide whether or not they get taught critical race theory, which probably, works it way back to the racism topic you mentioned at Kinnick Stadium, I believe. Maybe that was Dick. Thank you all for listening. Devil's Advocates Radio Show. So many fine listeners, can't keep you all straight, but keep listening, please, and I'll take another crack at it tomorrow. Tune in tomorrow, 2 o'clock, Dueling Tangents with Fancy Brian Kelly and Luke Mathers, a fine new product right here on Devil Radio. We got a new start time, 3 o'clock. Please make a note of it. Earl Ingram, he's the same. Native Roots Radio, that's the same. The rest of the lineup, it's the same. Greatest radio station ever, Devil Radio, Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Best producer, best host, best audience, second to none. Thanks for listening. Have a great night. Keep it locked right here. And oh yeah, this one, Saturday night's all right for fighting. Oh, this one got the crowd going Saturday night. I didn't see any fights, but there was at least one heart attack and a few people passed out. I damn near felt bad for them. Have a great night.
We will be back in some form.
Welcome to Jeopardy! Aaron has the night off.